more or less same direction. I don't think we've come to a place where we're going to make like a significant turn. Can you add?
Do you have something, Pascal?
No, I mean
it doesn't have to. I mean, it's also good if you just want to keep it.
Well, you're
way.
fired.
I mean, that's good.
No, joking. Just kidding. Booyah, booyah, booyah.
All right. Booyah, booyah, booyah.
Are we rolling?
We're rolling.
There.
Again.
Something is coming through.
Yeah, I think so. Hello. Hi.
So you're at the bottom, we're at the top.
Yeah, that's it. All right.
Yeah.
Should we go again?
Do we need to do it? Do we need to do a clap?
Yeah, check. Oh, damn it. Okay, guys, we just started the podcast. I don't know how many minutes in, but first time ever that it just turned off, and it just didn't record anymore. I think the reason is because my laptop doesn't have enough capacity to save all the files. So when I'm editing, I always have to delete stuff to get more room for other edits and other podcasts and all of that. And sometimes I'm lazy and then I don't get enough.
There you go. That's the challenge of video. You don't have that with audio only.
That's it. Okay, so all right. Hello, guys. Number 2 now. Take number 2. Welcome back to the Thoughts Under the Helmet podcast, episode 14. We're sitting here, or I'm sitting here now with the Skids and Giggles guys. You're doing a podcast too. Probably a little bit more experienced than I am with all the, I don't know, talking with guests and talking bullshit in front of a microphone. But I feel like I can learn a lot from you guys as well. I was on your podcast a few, weeks ago? We said before on take number 1, right?
Absolutely.
And it was super interesting just to talk with you and to talk with people who are from the same like area, kind of like coming from the same, or with people with the same goal, maybe to just talk with people. I want to really get into like what you guys brought to the point of being like, hey, now I want to start a podcast. I want to talk with a lot of different people and all of that. But yeah, welcome guys. I hope you're doing good. How are you, Bryson?
I'm very well. Thank you. How are you, Louis?
That's good. I'm good too, man.
Very nice to be on your podcast, by the way. Thank you for having us.
Dude, thank you for having you guys. Okay, we were just, before on take number 1, guys, we were talking about first thing like video podcasting and that the industry or the people maybe want to see more and more video podcasts. And then it all of a sudden just turned off.
Guess it got bored.
Yeah, so you know what? We're going to start just differently now, okay? I have another idea. I want to talk with you about my experience on your podcast because that might be interesting, right?
Very interested to hear this.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Very interested to hear this.
All right, we're just going to start with that one. I was on your podcast, guys, and you, for the people who don't know Skids and Giggles, you do audio only, right? You also record with people like not in the same room, like you do it on like online, right?
Yep.
And that was the first time I was invited to be on a podcast show without me being the host of it, and I have to say, man, I was so nervous as soon as you guys told me that you were recording the podcast. Oh, yeah. I was all chill. I was like, okay, I'm gonna talk with those 2 nice guys. It's gonna be all good. I mean, I answered so many questions before, just talking with other people about biking. It won't be any different. Pascal says, all right, now we're rolling. And I'm like, oh, shit. I can't handle this. I was so nervous.
Yeah. No, but I guess we made that experience a couple of times. But it is weird, right? Because the second you press the button and it's like, okay, now we're going. And then it's like, oh, what am I going to say? Am I going to do intro? What is the guest going to think? And you're going to be like, oh, what did we discuss before? Are we going to talk about the same thing again? What is happening? And then it's kind of all panic. Which is over the year, now we've been going for 3 years and 60 odd episodes, and we've tried so many different things. So we started with like full one shot, welcome, here's the website, here's all the other info, please give us a rating, this is the guest, hello guest, what's up? And then it's got like this big pressure, and then we changed that to just rolling into it. Then we did something different again. So it's kind of, we're constantly trying new things.
Well, that's what you have to do, right? To be successful in like any kind of way, you just have to go out and try, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's what I experience now with my podcast too. Like I'm trying so much stuff, but then, you know, camera doesn't work, or the audio recording platform doesn't work, or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's one benefit of the audio only. It's just one thing that can go wrong, right? So, but it's again, as we said before, in the first take is the essence of the podcast is the conversation, and then everything else is kind of, you know, like the cherry on top of the cake. But if the conversation is not good, then everything else around it doesn't really matter. So it's kind of, but yeah, so it's an interesting texture to have the video as well. But it just adds an element of the things that can go wrong that can also be stressful.
That's true. But still, like coming back to that first episode with you guys, it was so interesting to me to just see that from, or like to experience that, because whenever I do podcasts on my channel on Thoughts Under the Helmet, I never ever felt that nervous talking to people. I think maybe I was the same nervous when I talked to Danny McGaskill. But
granted,
it was just, I mean,
we're in the same league. Huh?
I was just,
we're the same like Danny Mac.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I have some Danny Mac spit on that mic right now, you know. I don't know. It's just so, because I never really talk with people about myself, or not that much when on my podcast. I'm more of like the interviewer, asking questions, seeing what other people say. But then I was all like, you know, the spotlight is on you, and then you're like, oh, I gotta perform, you know. What if I get a hiccup or something during talking? Did you guys did you realize that I was nervous?
Yeah, for sure. After speaking to so many people, you can read in them. Like all of a sudden, it's like someone turned off the lights, or you know, the temperature changes automatically. But hey, you managed to flip the table on us, because now I'm looking straight down the barrel of this Nikon.
Oh man,
and
you're doing good.
My watch went off telling me I had a
heart attack.
Yeah, like your heart rate is too high.
Like, luckily we have water down like next to us, so we can like spray it at you once you get unconscious, you know. No, you're doing good, man. I feel like I don't know, it's just all about a big like learning experience with podcasts. Also I have this theory that if you were not a person that is like very outgoing and like doesn't really want to be in front of a camera or talk to somebody on a mic and like be recorded, you can kind of learn how to be that person just by doing it over and over and over again. And I feel like maybe you guys also had that experience before, that when you started you were a little bit more shy to record yourself, and now you kind of have that courage, just I don't know, record yourself? Or what would you say?
I think I kind of I've gone through waves. So yeah, I mean, there was a time where I was like, okay, of course, in the beginning I was really shy. A lot of my friends would say, oh, he's a really outgoing person. Of course he's doing a podcast. Mm. But I think it's only when I'm like in a certain kind of scenario with friends, or maybe I'm just very excited to meet some new people, and then that kind of part of me comes out. But then maybe not when I'm always sitting in front of a microphone and meeting a random person and having to think about what I want to ask and telling myself to calm down, don't, you know, try to answer back to what he said, and try to figure things out. It's but I think a big realization for me came when we switched up for season 2 to more of like, let's have a more conversation style rather than like following the script too much. That helped me, because I'm more of the freestyler and like kind of gather my thoughts, then spit it out. And sometimes even people notice I don't speak for like half of the podcast. And then all of a sudden I'm like,
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's, I also do that. I really love to just be spontaneous and don't really have that script all the time. I just love to just tell my thoughts, you know, the thoughts under the helmet, you know. And it's very interesting, because I do still feel that you guys have more of a script even than I have, even though you guys maybe think that you're also more of like on the freestyle kind of area side, or what do you think? Like, Because when we started podcast, you guys were like, I got a full email of like with all the subjects and all of that. But I also like that because in that way, some people like to prepare for their moment and really like to, you know, just, I don't know.
Well, I mean, so I guess out of the two of us, I'm the one that came a bit slightly prepared into the podcasting. So, you know, obviously through work and academia, I did a lot of speaking and teaching and client meetings and presentations and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't really mind being recorded or the speaking in front of imaginary people and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I mean, what was interesting is to kind of have this story in the back of your mind that you want to tell, right? Because if you invite a guest, that was my approach, is kind of, you want to have kind of a story or what you want to get out of the conversation. You kind of I want to have that in the back of my mind. And at the beginning, I was probably writing down too much to leave, and I didn't leave enough space to have the more creative, let the conversation flow, and then I just bring it back. So it's kind of that fine balance between having a plan and giving the guest, you know, the kind of preparation that he needs.
Some people don't. I feel like some people really just want to get surprised with their. That's from my experience, from all the 14 episodes I have so far.
No, I mean, you know, there's people that have said, okay, cool, no worries, and there is other guests that have sent me their full answers already back, what they're about to say or what they want to say, or clearly, look, this is an area I don't want to go into, and that is kind of, you know, I'm trying to set the stage before we sit down to actually talk to kind of, okay, where is this going? And then, so kind of almost like the motorway, right, where you have your left and right of the road, and then somewhere in that lanes, in those 3-4 lanes or whatever, that's where you move the conversation. And that's where Bryson comes in, because then there it's kind of, he decides, are we going to go left, are we going to go right? And I just give the left and the right of the boundary, or the boundaries of the conversation, and then so that's kind of the plan.
I really think you have to just go both ways, or do a little bit of both. You have to be spontaneous enough to go and dive into a subject that you didn't really prepare for, and you have to have that open mindset to just ask questions about something new that comes up just spontaneously on the podcast or something like that. Or some people bring up stories that they never told ever before on a podcast, and then you should be able to, you know, get the most out of that.
Yeah, for sure.
But on the other side, you should be still prepared in a way, especially when you have guests that want to be prepared to a certain point. And I talked with Christian Evers. He was on a podcast with you recently, I think.
Yes, he was.
Right?
That's
from Bikes, the marketing brand manager. Yeah. And
really cool conversation.
Yeah, because I feel like it's only you guys I know from the whole Swiss podcast scene that do mountain bike related podcast. I know Dirty Show from Lenzerheide. Yeah, I think it's called like that. But I don't know if they did episodes,
but I haven't heard from them.
I don't know, but that's like the only people I know who do that. And then I asked Christian when I visited him at the Bikes HQ a few days ago, and he told me that he was on your show, and I was like, wow, like, can you tell me what was the difference from like your show, the show with you, the guys from Skids and Giggles, and my show with you, like, because he has been on both shows so far. And he was really like, one of the big differences is that you guys, with the email you send in advance, and then the steps to tell the guests what to do after podcast is done, with like sending photos and thinking about a next question for the next guest and all of that, just makes he told me that was were his words. He said makes it a little more professional, and I'm like, okay, I get that, and I feel like that's a step I still have to do as well.
Well, like, I guess, you know, that
as much as you're good in being like doing all the freestyle stuff, you should also have that plan and that kind of like professional appearance.
I guess you know, it depends. I mean, it depends, right? It depends what your goal is, right, and what your audience wants, right? If your audience wants freestyle Louis, then give them freestyle.
I mean,
Louis,
guys,
right?
what do you want? Do you want me to freestyle
Louis
on the show?
Or
I could do that too.
or if you want, you know, I mean,
we can do that later,
you know, right? It's not. So yes, like just because we've been around for 3 years just means that either we're stupid enough to keep going, or somehow it kind of the feedback we do get and the messages and the people that want to come on and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
That keeps us going, and the conversations that we can bring to the table because I guess for us both it's a community first thing, right? So when we set out to do the podcast, it was always the idea was we want to share the little story. We just don't want to have the big stars, because right there's only so much you can get out of Nino Shorter. I think everything is said.
Very true.
I would love to talk with Nino in terms of a personal conversation, but I don't, in terms of for a wider audience, I'm not sure there's much more that hasn't been said. Whereas my feeling is there is so many different small stories and perspectives and inputs and all these kind of things that make everything so great, which obviously makes it super difficult for us to get any major attraction, because on average our guests are, you know, not the big hitters.
But I feel like still when I look on the guests I have so far and the numbers I've made, the guests who were the most who got the most reach and were like most attractive to the audience weren't the big people. Like I had a podcast with Danny McAskill, one of the biggest trial stars.
What a stud. You had Danny Mac on.
And I'm bringing it on over and over again. You guys feel that? I got a flex on you guys, you know. I might not have the experience, but I got that, you know, connection. No,
that's so good.
It's just his podcast didn't get the numbers other podcasts got, because I feel like people can't really relate with his life and lifestyle, because it's just not reachable for them. It's like he's that big mountain bike star traveling every day, doing all those crazy projects, but then that's not reachable for a guy who works 9 to 5, going on bike rides every weekend. He wants to listen about stories from people who have a little bit of reach on Instagram, but are still very based in the local scene, you know, like people like Birgit Bless I had on. She's very a local star in like the Graubünden scene, or Armin Hartmann, Chibrist, and Cornflakes Future, like the BMX guy. Man. Like these are people you see in bike parks every weekend in the summer, and you kind of want to know more about them than about like a Danny McAskill. So very interesting.
I think you just answered it right there. It's like it's all about the demographic. I mean, that theme comes back time and time again when we discuss what we're doing, why we're doing it. And I remember our conversation on the Skids and Giggles podcast, where it was one part of the conversation was concentrated or focused on the local riding scene here.
Yeah.
And your Bergvelo club.
Yeah. And
you're following in Interlaken and in greater Swiss German speaking Switzerland.
Yeah.
So probably my intuition would say you're probably getting the views is because your viewership are valuing those ones based on language, getting to know these people who are in their scene. And that's really powerful. Point.
Yeah, that's no way. That's actually it. I feel like I'm very interested to speak more, and I want to speak more with people from the scene, people who are touchable, if you can say that, to the audience I have, and that's why it's also so cool to have you guys, because I feel like you're also very into the like you seem like the just biker that is. That will be in every kind of like bike, or that people have in every bike scene, if you want to say like that, you know, like I don't know, just normal nice bike guys people want to talk with, you know. I don't know, I feel like that's something maybe that also why your podcast has an audience too, you know. I don't know, it's relatable in a way.
I can say, back to the topic about having like kind of sort of the underdog on our show, is like also what's great about it is it's sort of a challenge to like always try to seek out kind of the smaller stories and the not so big hot topics and bring them to light, because I mean they are interesting as well. And it's not so easy to just find that stuff, because in social media we're fed a lot of the viral stuff. We're fed what things get views, and it's always coming to us. We don't have to ask for it. So it's also a nice challenge to try to find something that it's not be given to you.
That's true.
Which I think also brings a lot of value in smaller scenes, like the German speaking, or even just in Switzerland for mountain biking. And also other thing I want to say to that is that's something actually I have a bit of envy for you guys, is because you speak the local language. And I mean, if the viewers are really, hey, I really only appreciate taking in the Swiss German content, you guys have a big advantage in that respect, because I mean, it's what do they call it? Par for the course. It's like you are in the scene speaking the language. So like, why wouldn't they listen to it? So it's very powerful, and I'm just saying it has a lot of traction. So don't underestimate that.
No, even though it's cool. I mean, it's like you're really just growing your roots in that niche almost, you know, and like people, there might not be a lot of people talking Swiss German. There might not be a big like audience to it, but the people who will appreciate what you do and like will appreciate the language you speak to them, and the people just the things they see will make it worth it, you know, and they will really kind of like just stay on your side as a how do you want to say it, as a viewer, or as like someone of your community. So very interesting. I also feel like if you have guests that are not as big, or just kind of like the underdogs, you really want to I know, I feel like everyone has a story to tell, you know, and you can just, no matter how big they are, no matter how many followers they have on Instagram, or if they're pro mountain bikers or not, everyone has cool, interesting stories to tell. And that's what I like about podcasting, because you can just sit down with anybody. They don't have to be famous. They don't have to be like a huge name, and you can have really interesting conversations with those people. Kind of also brings me to my next questions, which is I just want to know why you guys started with all of that, because for me it was that reason, you know. It was about just sitting down with people and talking about normal things and making it interesting.
Well, I mean, we always say we are a child of the pandemic. Okay. And then I mean, there's a couple of elements, right? So there's been a couple of very long road trips where we've talked endless hours about many different things, and eventually the topic came up, and which podcast are you listening to, and no one is really talking about this, and maybe we should do our own, and you know, all of this. And then the funny thing was, speaking of, you know, to the thing that we record remotely still to this day, was that we did actually buy all the microphones, all the mixers, all the everythings, and then COVID hit.
Oh no!
Like the restrictions were kind of put in place, and then at the time we were so deep in the hole, we were like, screw this, let's just get going. But
then it turned out good, because the pandemic made those people sit down on their computers and phones and listen to you guys.
But that was super cool, right? Because then certainly because that was beginning of 21 when we got started, and then obviously everyone was sitting at home and had time, and you know, was not going anywhere, and then so that was a great time to talk to many people. And but yeah, so it's I guess that is the common denominator is like the stories and talking about biking, because we're both very passionate mountain bikers or bike riders. Both have very different interpretations of riding a bike.
Oh, I want to know about that.
Or like what it means to them, right? So so that's why we thought, so, you know, I have a very different perspective on the sport. I come from more racing and competition, and as an enthusiast, whereas Bryson has actually the technical knowledge of how you make a bike. I mean, he even made his own bike, right? So works in the industry, and so we thought that would be an interesting combination of perspectives to bring out those little stories. And so that was the original promise. And I guess we haven't really changed much. The interesting dynamic, certainly recently, is that, so yes, we live in this very small niche, right? So because mountain biking is a niche sport, then these little stories are an even smaller niche, and then we do speak English, right? So then that's even a smaller niche. So, but in that small niche, we've somehow managed to create a little community or a following, if you want to call it that way. And we're very grateful for that, because our content at the moment practically writes itself, right? Because people are sending us messages and emails and are like, hey, you should really talk more about this. Have you thought about talking to this other person, and all these kind of things, and that's really cool, and I guess a cool place to be, and so we just lean in, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. It feels like also your jobs are kind of a reason why you do what you do now. I know, maybe for the audience as well, what are you guys doing job-wise? I mean, Bryson, you work with bikes and know how to build them, right?
Yeah. I work for Scott Sports in the headquarters in Switzerland, and previous to that, I've done I was a little bit of a bike guide, a little bit of a instructor back in Vancouver. Volunteered for a club for a really long time. Built my own bike. Took a bike building course, actually a frame building course with Paul Brody. That's phenomenal. Cool. So for me, biking is more than, so I will admit I am not really sort of like a competition guy. Yeah. I try to be athletic, as you know, it's kind of it's again in waves.
That's good. That keeps it interesting.
Everything in moderation, right?
Yeah, it keeps it interesting.
But exactly. So I'm also very interested in the technical side, and that's what really actually originally brought me into it, is just the technical aspects. So understanding what kinematics were, linkages, the forces on the shock, on the frame, all these things fascinated me. So I went to school for that, and then I started trying to get the ball rolling there. I still to this day am very technical minded and always looking at like new products with this sort of eye. Yeah. And it also guides me in kind of like where I find myself in biking. And what I wanted to say with that was, biking itself has brought me a lot of places. So it brought me to meeting Pascal. We met on a
where did you guys meet?
On a weekend trip. So through Briaroma Bike Shop. Oh, they do Los Enduros, 3-land enduro, Russian Pass. Oh, cool. A long weekend, and nice. He's just like, hey, heard you're Canadian, so. It was
hey, what a joy.
So we just did a couple laps, then beers after and everything. It's a great time. We've continued to go back, and then it brought me to the podcast. It brought me to making great friends in North Vancouver and the bike club. It brought me to riding great places. So very grateful for biking, and it's really cool. Like he comes from a competition background. It brought him a lot of places, showed him a lot of different cool things. For myself, from a different perspective, also brought me cool places and showed me a lot of cool things. So, it's easy to be grateful for a bike.
Perfect. What about you? What do you do for work?
Well, it kind of depends. It's going to be interesting ones. Depending on when this comes out, I'll just have finished up a long banking career, and
exclusive job change.
It's not quite like that, but the timing is impeccable, so to speak. I'm literally about to finish that up, and then so I'll start my own business in biking, with bikes, trying to make sense of my passion for bikes, and and yeah, so trying to find.
So what is it gonna be? Like your business?
Well, so the main income, let's say, if you will, is going to be guiding and coaching mostly.
Cool. Yeah.
But yeah, so my main responsibility at the moment is looking after the kids. So I'm going to be predominantly a stay-at-home dad and Team Panzer, like, you know, get the look after the next generation, if you want to call it that way. Not in mountain biking at the moment.
Not yet, you want to say?
No. I mean, he is more into football, and she's more into climbing and bouldering and horseback riding and all these kind of things. So yeah, so that is going to be the future. And yeah, as I said, the rest of the time I'm going to try to make sense of my life and bikes.
That's cool. I mean, it seems like and you said it quite much. Like the whole biking brought you guys so many places and really like gave you a lot of opportunities. And I'm sure for you as well. And I can also speak for myself. Like biking showed me really like pretty much everything I know and I did for the past 10 years was because of biking, because I choose to have that lifestyle and to commit myself fully into biking, and it's great. I feel like, do you guys feel like you can also give something back with that podcast? Like, is it just like an entertainment factor? What do you want to get out of it, you know? Is it like...
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's community first, right? So it's kind of sharing those stories was the goal, is to show and showcase what this community is all about, and that's the goal, right? We don't have any commercial interests. We joke about our discount code, which is FOFF100.
Nice. FOFF100.
Link in the description.
Yeah, we're gonna put it down there.
But joking aside, right? We don't have any sponsorship. We're not looking for advertising or anything, right? So it's just a pure passion project. And you know, as long as people like it and they're listening to us, then you know we keep going and keep pushing in the direction they push us, and then everything else will take care of itself.
Cool. What is for me, it's like a big part of it is also entertainment. I want to entertain people. Just want to give, as I told you guys, I want to give with all my content. I just want to give people a reason to, or a way to just shut off for like half an hour a day, just by listening to a podcast or watching a YouTube video, or I don't know, watching some cool clips I posted on Instagram. I want to just give people a chance to shut off for a second from their problems or their like difficult situations maybe they have, or just stressful lives or whatever. And I don't know, I always feel like with the podcast as well, and that's also why I do the video podcast, for me it's always because of that entertainment factor. It also goes in the way of I want to put on a show for the people, and like within the next years I want to really invest in a better quality, better guests to just have the just have that entertainment factor. Yep. And where do you guys want to go with the podcast itself? Like it is a passion project, but is there maybe still like a goal of increasing quality, like getting 2 or 3, getting a camera to it maybe as well, or getting, I don't know, like doing a crazy sound effects industry, like maybe like technical wise, where do you want to go with it? Or at a soundboard maybe with like, I don't know. Are there any ideas, future project, things you want to do?
Well, we can't spill all the beans now.
Oh, why not? It's the Thoughts Under the Helmet podcast.
It's true, actually. It's the expose. The next Baba Wawautas. I guess actually we're gonna have to like sum that up at our next general meeting and get the vote. Yeah, that's more or less same direction. I don't think we've come to a place where we're gonna make like a significant turn. Can you add?
Do you have something, Pascal?
No, I mean
it doesn't have to. I mean, it's also good if you just want to keep it.
Well, you're fired.
That's good.
No, joking. Just kidding.
Wait, can you fire each other?
He's fired.
Oh, okay.
What? 2? We should start a podcast.
Skids and Giggles podcast. Just
no, joking aside. I mean, I guess yeah. So as Bryson said, there is let's say no exit strategy in terms of like, okay, this is what we want to achieve, and that then we're going to stop or whatever, or we're going to sell out or whatever it is, right? So. I guess at this stage, obviously for me, things are changing quite significantly. So we'll see what that means.
You think you'll have more time to
that is
invest
that
in
is
or
one
less?
that is one certainly one direction that's possible. Of course, what is changing is that so far this has been a creative release. No, I'm not saying distraction, but like. An outlet for beside of work and training and writing and all that sort of stuff, just to create something to keep that side of my personality kind of entertained.
Yeah.
And now I've kind of have this clean slate of I can place my chips, if you will. I can place them any place I want on the board, if you will, and. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, no, I enjoyed a lot. I guess we both enjoyed a lot. We got a lot of great ideas. I mean, a lot of the ideas that, are flowing into my own business are coming pretty much straight out of the podcast and conversations that have continued online or offline or whichever it may be. And these ideas I'm kind of looking forward to pursuing. Yeah. And yeah, we'll see what comes out of that. Check back in a couple of years.
Yeah, of course. You're always welcome on the pod.
I guess that's one other topic I want to touch on is it became apparent to me also, like through the podcast, that it wasn't just a podcast for the sake of doing podcasts. It was also bringing me things outside of podcasting. So I realized it helped me like organize my thoughts maybe a little bit better.
Oh, cool.
Learn a little bit of something like maybe from Pascal as like sort of a quasi mentor in some areas, let's say, because he comes from a different background. So I can. One of the things I've always said is learn something from everyone. And kind of growing as a person is also fulfilling, and that also motivates me to continue doing a podcast.
No, I can relate. It's super interesting to hear all of those different, how do you say, opinions, all of those. If we talk about certain subjects, or just also like when coming back to the podcast I had with Birgit Bless a few months ago, it was so interesting to learn how she went through life so far. And she had some really difficult situations with mobbing in school and being overweight when she was a teenager, and really tough times like going from overweight to having like a eating disorder and all of that. So it's crazy up and downs in her life, and now she finally overcame all of that and really, I don't know, it's just pushing her limits like physically with training every single day in the gym and putting in that work, but also like I guess career wise with even though she doesn't want to be an influencer, but still like going there, like getting followers, like, and for her it's also all about just telling her story. It's so cool, and I really was sitting there with her in Lenzerheide. I was listening to her. I was like, wow, I mean, I want to get my life going too now. Like she really motivated me, and I felt that a few times with other guests already. So yeah, what you just said, it's so cool to learn from people, and you can learn from pretty much everyone. Yeah, and
you get to meet a lot of cool people in the industry that we all love, or like industry or scene, let's say.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
It's awesome,
and it's like you see them randomly, like, hey, I mean, another friend.
No, you're all just, it's all, you're like, it's like big net out of mountain bikers and bike enthusiasts.
And if we can bring that kind of feeling just to mountain biking in general, we've already done our work. Like, if every mountain biker out there was just like super friendly to each other, or even every cyclist, it doesn't matter, everybody was just super friendly to each other, like the world would be great. I mean, a little bit too optimistic, but
no,
of course,
be nice to
imagine
each
if
other,
like you approached everyone like your friend, like a dog approaches people, they're like, oh my god.
I
mean, maybe overkill, but
I mean, you don't have to lick their faces or something, but you could. I mean, you could.
How entertaining would life be?
Yeah, actually.
Forget social media now. Oh, they don't want us to
true.
do that.
Yeah.
What?
They want to keep us online.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No. They're listening right now. Yeah, maybe we could also just dive into some cool situations or interesting, funny situations you had so far on the cast. Because how many episodes do you have right now online? Do you know it?
Around 70. There's around 70.
70?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were talking about like being nervous and anxiety before, so what was your like worst episode of being super nervous, or just, I don't know, the most embarrassing moment?
It's currently on your podcast.
No, you're
Yes.
doing great, man. You're doing great.
Have
You're
you
doing
checked your
great.
watch?
No, but I'm kind of shaking.
It's all good. You can. No, you're doing great. Yeah.
No.
Vusa,
Yeah.
just
No, we've had our fair share of snafus, to use a military term.
Okay.
No, it's yeah. I mean, we've had the odd issues with videos cutting out, and then being worried about, is what we are seeing and hearing, which is obviously not great. Is that what is going to be recorded?
Oh,
and this is
okay.
like something super cool
Yeah,
that
yeah,
some
yeah.
person is talking about. So audio quality, which is always an issue, or can be an issue depending on the setup, to all these kind of things. Or like, people just being like mega nervous, and but yeah, I mean, that's part of it, right? So I mean, it's also kind of our role in this game is also to kind of bring the guests to a place where they're calm down and relax, and then are actually able to talk about what they want to talk about. And I mean, there's obviously one feedback we get a lot is, of course, the English speaking podcast in Switzerland talking about the Swiss mountain bike scene. And people are not willing to share as much if they don't speak their mother tongue and all that sort of stuff. And I guess it can go both ways. And I guess it's probably a good point to talk about it, but it's because it can go both ways, right? So it's, people can be nervous speaking in English because what people don't know is we give them the option, right? Because we've done episodes.
But just to clarify that, if you have an episode in English, which you usually have, both of you are
so both of
there,
us,
and if it's only in Swiss German, which you also do, then it's only you. Huh? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we do kind of a recap to let someone that doesn't speak Swiss German also be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a pain in the butt because it's like at least 2 times the work, but so far the feedback has actually been quite okay. I think we've done like 6-7 of them. But yeah, so generally we give our guests the option. It's like, hey, look, if we do it in English, then Bryson and I can be there. If it's just in Swiss German, then it's just me. So a lot of people have have tried. We've made good experiences, and then again, I was trying to say before that people criticize that they can't bring their point across in English.
Yeah.
But what our experience also has been is that people are willing to talk much more freely about things in English than they would be in German or in their mother tongue, because they hold back more.
Yeah. We talked about that. True.
But yeah, so as I say, it can go both ways.
Okay, but you never had a major embarrassing moment in one of those episodes so far, or was it all you've been shining all? But
that's the beautiful thing, right? It's
something
because
that
it's not
out.
Live. It's not
you
live.
can cut it out too. I'm not doing that.
Sometimes we're editing quite a few things, but yeah. So no, not generally. They haven't really had massive issues or So apart from the technical ones,
good.
but apart from that, there was really nothing major.
What was your most important or interesting guest you had, like someone who really had, like, maybe was very surprising in how they delivered, or someone who was just very like famous? Okay. Or
why don't we do our top 3 guests? You
top
have
three,
a think,
top 3, yeah, let's go.
Top
Top 3.
I do my top 3.
All right, yeah, sounds
You
good.
want to have a think?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we've top 3 is hard because they're cool ones.
We can do the top 20 if you want.
Just the top 70.
Top 70.
No, joking aside, I mean, I guess the really cool ones is, as you said before, is like that. The guest that it has a lot of interest from the community, but let's say the general public doesn't really know those stories if you're just a little bit removed from the core, right? And I guess the home runs in those, just also from the reception, certainly Dave Spielmann.
Interesting, yeah.
Super cool guest. I mean, massive energy, and at a really cool, not cool, an interesting juncture in his life, and he was willing to share a lot.
Okay, cool.
That was really, really interesting. I guess one of the very early ones for us was also Greg Jolliffe, the trail builder, who built the Höckler Trail in Zurich, but also used to dig and joyride. He built in Belwald. He now lives in Switzerland.
Oh, no way. I didn't know him, actually.
So he's and he's, I mean, what most people don't know, he is fast. Dang. I mean, he showed up at like a Swiss Championships, Swiss Enduro Series in Lechenthal, like not quite jeans and a t-shirt, but pretty close. I think he even he got the helmet from someone else. And he finished like 3rd or 4th.
No way.
Like,
insane.
Wow. Yeah, but he's a really good guy. I mean, we've had a couple of episodes with Anna Newkirk, which has always been a great guest.
I want to have a podcast with her too. I was talking with her. I think when I had a bike camp with like the kids in Basel. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's from that area. So
yeah, exactly. She's from my hometown, or lives in my hometown. And if I can, I mean, there have been so many. I mean, Lucas Hoopert is a good.
Oh, we're gonna have one with him on December.
Good buddy of ours.
So
yes, there's been so many, and even this year has been a couple of cool ones. I mean, cool. Yeah, so many.
Nice. What about you, Bryson? Did you had enough time to think about it?
I did, and I'll probably just make mistakes with names and things like that.
No, that's okay.
So yeah, I was actually going to say Anna. So was it delayed to have Anna on? She's a lot of energy. Wow. So you're going to love that interview.
Oh, perfect.
I thought it was very interesting to have our friend Jan on. And
Jan Favre, the Mr. Hardtail single speed sender.
Okay, I don't know.
He's got a way to think about things, and we talk a lot like not on camera, no, on recording on the pod.
Yeah.
It's almost akin to like where Pascal and I started with like, oh, why don't they do that to a bike, or like what would happen if they kind of tweaked it like this, and then I would be like, well, maybe this and that, and like it was this whole like, thought.
You just go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, and we flex that muscle with Jan, and we have fun with it. So
cool.
I really appreciate that.
Sweet.
We can really appreciate that.
Shout out.
The SES boys, that was a hoot.
Oh wow. How many people were there? Well, if you say boys,
okay.
Gianluca and Remy.
And Remy, yes.
And Remy. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And we spoke to Nick, Vicky too, but that was earlier. So
okay.
Nah,
that's cool.
I can't say like these are my favorites, but these are like standouts
of course,
right
of
now.
course. Like if you didn't get, obviously my name wasn't in there too. I'm not gonna be mad now, so it's all fine. But no, guys, jokes aside,
everything beside Louis, those were the other things.
We can do that list
Louis
on the next
S tier.
If you're coming on the podcast again in the future, we can rethink that list.
Absolutely.
I can give you my top 3 if you want. Of my podcast,
please.
If you guys had to go through it, I can do that too.
Okay, I'm gonna guess in my mind first, and then you tell me. So
I have to think about it too.
Oh shit, I forgot about him. Okay,
obviously Danny Mac was a huge name, but I definitely not gonna put him on the number 1 spot. Sorry, Danny. I don't know if you're listening. Probably not, but he was super cool. It was cool to see, to just have this crazy athlete in front of you and that's just what I said in the beginning of the podcast. Maybe it was on take 2, maybe not, I don't know yet. But it was just like, I love to sit down with those crazy athletes and those A-side celebrities and what they do, and just realize, these are just normal guys having normal problems, normal lives in a way, normal things to think about, and you're just like, whoa, such cool experiences. And I had that with Danny. Everyone's telling me that he's a really just decent, down to earth guy, and I can definitely say that too now. So Danny was a big name. Then I had a podcast with, I have to go them all through. Armin Hartmann Chibrist. Yeah. He's just a really funny guy. Like, this man, he just doesn't care what he's saying, and he just says what he thinks about in like right now, and it's just so makes it very interesting, And then we had so much fun.
I can admire that.
Yeah, like Chibrist. Did you have it on the podcast?
No.
Oh, okay. It's a recommendation. And then we had Birgit, because of her like motivation and how she goes through life and like what she does, just very inspiring. But my number one of all times was Cornflake's Future. Like, so far, this man, just the energy he brings and the like, no fucks given, like just.
Wow. It's also the way he rides.
Yeah, he's such an and just his appearance, even that with the face tat and how he dresses, and it just makes you want to know everything about him. Yeah. And I think that also showed in the numbers the podcast made, and how many people really listened to that. Probably Alessio. Yeah, shout out Alessio, you're doing great. Yeah. No, he's cool. Did you have him on? That's also another one.
It's been a requested guest. So
but yeah,
he's to make it happen.
He's around. I mean, he lives in Winterthur or something.
He's close.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably my top 3-4. That.
Oh yeah.
No.
That's also just watching him ride is just insane.
Oh man.
And then with all the bikes and it
just seems so effortless. Like, and just so, I mean,
no pads, no helmet,
sends
no nothing.
Hard. Yeah. Oh, great. Maybe we can also bring it back a little to like your guys riding, and just want to know like how long you've been riding for. You said you did racing before. You tried racing before, or like, I don't know, when did your guys like riding career start, if you want to say it like that?
Where does it start? I was just tooling around the woods with my buddies
in Vancouver.
There was this small park with maybe 50 meters elevation that had a lot of like the spider web of trails, so you can go every which way direction, up, down, left, right, and backwards. And we would just go through there and get lost, actually, and then end up cool. Like keep going, and then eventually find a road and be like, oh, okay, now we know where we are. So we kind of go back through and get lost again. So because everything is just a spider web, so everything looked the same. Yeah. So yeah, I spent a lot of my time in there early days with mountain bike, like kind of on my, like, let's say first mountain bike with like real tires with like Candid 2.1s, and I had a full suspension Norco. Like, it was like proper mountain biking, not just, I don't know. It was like intended, right? Mm-hmm. Like I intentionally got a Norco with a Judy fork with the knobby tires, like so we can go mountain biking. And it kind of just snowballed from there. I got really interested, as I said, in the tech. So I got a hardcore case of upgrade-itis. And that's like, you buy a new stem, you buy a new bar, you get new pedals, and then it goes to cranks, chainring, everything. And then you kept.
Do you also try like fancy new stuff, like, or like just weird new, like stuff you normally wouldn't buy because it's super unnecessary, but you buy because it's just new and something else?
At the start, I was still a student, so I couldn't afford a lot of things. But I would find a lot of great deals on the Pink Bike Buy and Sell, and like me and my buddy would like drive to North Van or drive to here and there, like just to go pick up this part, come back, throw it on the bike, drink a bunch of colas, and then like hang out a bit, and then the next day go for a ride or something like that. It was like this kind of pattern.
No way.
We were like the guys who visit the bike shop every weekend. Never bought a thing, but like always went there to like just look at the Kona Stinkies.
Like one day.
Yeah. And then it got into like, okay, I got a little bit better. I started riding with different people. Eventually got like a new bike, not a used bike. And then funny enough, I moved out of my parents' place, and then it ended up into a place right beside the Delta Watershed Park where I started.
Oh, cool.
And it had evolved
Back
basically.
to the roots.
Yeah, back to my roots, but it had evolved. There was some really gnarly stuff. There was some stuff I never saw ever before because I would always just get lost in the same places.
Yeah.
And not discover all the other stuff. But since I was living there, I would just kind of like pick my way through all of it. And I was meeting people there, and I met like the official bike club there, and they would go for rides every Tuesday night. So I would join them, and then we would just shred like in a train, the whole thing. So that like up my game again. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'm fast. If I can keep up with these guys, maybe I'm fast enough to do a couple races. Wrong.
Well, you try, you know?
Yeah. I did almost a full season of BC Enduro. Granted, half of it was as a volunteer, but I did a lot of the races. I don't know. I don't have what it takes to be a racer.
Mental, is it like probably just the mental? Are you like mentally a competitor? You know, like, do you want to win? Is that your goal in
maybe
life?
I think
getting those W's.
Maybe I think I am, but I'm really not on the level. You know, like I'll go out there thing. On the lunch ride, and I know who the fast guys are, and for the first lap, I'm breathing out of my eyeballs, and then for the second lap, I'm super dizzy and I don't know where they are. So, I mean, that's cool. There's fast guys, and then there's really fast guys, and I'm not either of those. But I like to push myself, and I think that's the category I'm in. And sometimes it nets me, some decent times. Like for example, we did Leukebad SCS.
I was there too this year.
Yes.
Oh no, not this year.
Oh,
thanks, man.
Okay, bro. And we did on hardtails, and on the last, and I did my on single speed. Jan also single speeded it.
Oh, you guys went with hardtails?
Yeah.
Oh, what? No way. All right. But there were like only 6 people competing, right? So you got like 6? 4. Sorry, wrong information. There were like 400 guys, all elite downhill racers.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
Did I fuck your story up now?
No. Okay, great addition. And then at the end, the last stage. Second last stage. I passed someone on a full suspension bike.
Oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool. All right, so, that's a highlight.
I'm not the slowest guy, but I'm not one of the guys you would be like, oh, he's a sick fast rider, I want to ride with him. But maybe you're like, oh, Bryson's a nice guy and he knows the route, or.
But that's what you should shoot for. You don't want to ride with people only because they're like fast. You should ride with people who, I don't know.
Everyone has a different motivation. Like I also like to ride with people faster than me, or ski with people who do gnarlier things than me. So it pushes my game.
That's how you learn, yeah. And
sometimes I like to cruise, and people enjoy. They want to go on a lunch ride with me because I just cruise and do a little bit chatty, and it's more social. That's okay too.
Yeah. All right. No, cool. All right. Are you still doing races?
No, but
you retired now after the career best in
Lumix? I'm never gonna give up. No back.
All right.
As Steve Pete said, never back down.
Never back down.
He said that right?
Maybe quote Steve Pete.
No way out. What did you say, Steve?
No way out. No way down. No way. There is a way down. No way. No way. No way.
I think as Pascal said, a lot of what we do is about community, and I'm really happy to be a part of the Swiss mountain biking community.
Yeah.
In a way, and also to support it, we do things like going to SES or speaking to them.
24-hour race.
You did that?
Yeah.
You both? Oh,
I think it's your turn.
Yeah. Okay. Switching back, you can tell about those experiences. How you saw Bryson suffer.
It was So I guess we did an entire episode on it, so I'm gonna spare. Your
all the 70 episodes
stories
are in the
yeah. But the funny story is, so there's this very traditional 24-hour race here in Switzerland called Insurance, and it was one of those situations Bryson sends me a text like, hey, 24-hour race. Have you ever done this? And I was like, no. But we should. And then he was like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing it. Let's gather a team. And then long story short, we gathered a team of 4. So it was mixed between, someone that had experience with 24-hour races, someone that just was up for a good time sorry?
Cross country?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, old school cross country,
Cool.
like around the industrial estate, the usual stuff.
Okay.
And but yeah, so it was funny. And then actually Bryson took the time to prepare. He actually went to look at the course, did a preparation for us, like, okay, here are the technical difficulties, this and that. And then he was like, oh well, I guess, the fast guys, they're gonna go below 15 minutes, but I'm maybe gonna be like 15 minutes, 15:30. And I'm like, okay, I pace myself. Exactly. and then when it was his turn, he was going out first lap 14 minutes something, and he was like, wow, dang,
I'm elite now, guys.
Like, wow, he's on.
Put me on the podium.
He's really on it today. And then second lap was like 15 something, and then we were like, okay, he's backing off. Third lap, 17 minutes. Fourth lap, he was walking. It was
came without a bike.
Yeah, no, it was quite an experience. But as we said, it was about showing up and doing something together. And we've always done some kind of weird events or race or whatever it is together. And so we try to. I guess for next year, that's something we want to do again. We've done a Skids and Giggles race, not a Skids and Giggles race, but like an event. So
I love it.
2 years ago, we did like a group ride, which ended up quite an epic endeavor.
Can I join?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, sweet.
For sure.
I'm in.
We used to just free invite people, but it's kind of fell to the wayside. But we should reinstate it.
Oh, absolutely. Because that was really fun.
Cool. Tell me when it is. Yeah. I'll be happy to join.
No, so those are the things we do.
But right. What are your routes? When did you start?
Oh man, that's a long story. I guess
Story short. No, we're on a podcast.
No, I mean, I really, yeah. So my love for two wheels started really early. I mean, I got my first bike when I was like 3, a red, gold, and chrome BMX, which is really cool. But yeah, so I'm obviously a bit older than most of your listeners. I'm from a time when there was no mountain bikes yet. So I actually got one of the first mountain bikes as a teenager, and then, tried all the things like dual slalom, which was terrible. Obviously, I tried my hand at downhilling and whatever, and crashed myself, a number of times. My parents thought, like, hey, why don't you do cross country at some stage? And I tried that. So that was really cool. I did that for a couple of years. But I also dabbled in road and triathlons and different kinds of mountain biking. So cross country and marathon and enduro.
But very competition based then, right?
Yeah, because I grew up as a swimmer, so that's what's kind of, I was always around some kind of sport and competition and all that, and I like that for myself. I like challenging myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it's I enjoy the process of racing and preparing for an event and understanding the event, understanding the challenge, and that's why I kind of like to dabble in all these different disciplines. And yeah, so that's what keeps me going. Not necessarily because I have the feeling I need to win something. It's just, okay, there's a date in the diary. Until then, you need to understand what's going on, and then you better get ready for it.
Kind of like, getting like pushing yourselves, getting new skills. Yeah, I like that too.
That is so that's what kept me going all those years, and that's the goal, to keep riding for as long as I can.
Sweet. 24-hour race next year. Have you ever done the also? Just I think my camera's about to die, but we're just gonna change to the iPhone once it's over.
Oh,
we're just gonna run it out.
Or wrap it up at some stage, or
soon, yeah.
As you wish.
No, just I wanna. Did you guys do the Mega avalanche or like the
that's
mass start on the glacier? Would you guys do that?
Bucket list.
Yeah,
that looks insane. So I must be doing it.
I'm too scared to try that, man.
Yeah, out on the hardtails. Yeah, no, I mean I guess it depends.
There it is.
Oh, there it is. There it goes. We need to clap.
Okay, back we are, guys. You know how it goes. Back to the iPhone. I mean, I had this happening like 2-3 times already. Just camera died. Okay. Set up the iPhone just like that on like the edge of it. So if there's a little wind going right now, it will fall.
So don't move.
Just don't move.
Yeah.
No, you can move.
We bored the camera to death.
We don't want to feed into his anxiety more and more.
Exactly.
And not make him move. No.
Breathe. Physiological size.
Quickly coming back to your writing, I feel like it's so cool, and I feel like that's I like that you guys also just try to push yourself and with trying new stuff, getting new skills, and I like that. I feel like to become a good writer and a well-rounded writer, you have to do that, and also maybe try stuff you normally wouldn't do. And I feel like that's also something people these days, like the young kids, don't really do. They don't try new stuff out. It's just like they're born as a park rider and they're gonna die as a park rider, and everything else in between, like if it's road or cross country or like an enduro race or anything like that, or doing like a nice tour with your bike, or it's just not happening because they're like, so maybe it's the age they're in, but I feel like it's still very like, you're either a park rider or you're like a cross country guy or you're a road rider, but you can't be all. You have to be something.
I think that's a sign of the times where we are with the sport, right? Because the sport has grown from being this weird sport on the fringes of whatever, right? So it's not just for outlaws anymore and punks and whatnot. So it is an actual popular sport. So a lot of people are doing it. You can watch it on the TV. There's Olympics. There's Rampage and whatnot. And people like to share stories, right? So and then if they have found their story or their community or whatever you want to call it, then they like to be in that and stay with that, right? Because it's whatever, 30 years ago there was no such thing as you're a downhiller or you're a park rider or you're a disc rider or whatever, because there wasn't anything like that. And today you have a bike park and you have a downhill track and you have a this and you have a that, and so people congregate around that. So but I don't know, I mean, I just like to keep it fresh for myself, right? I even see it now in a year. This has been a very big riding year, let's say, and I can feel that towards the end of the year you kind of get, not saying burnt out, but you kind of at home, certainly you ride the same trails, you ride the same routes, and you're kind of getting, oh well, maybe it's time for something else. And so then you kind of switch to the road bike, or are we allowed to say gravel?
Oh, I have to beep that though.
Yeah, exactly. Beep it.
He said the G word.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that has actually been a lot of fun. So I think having the opportunity, and I know that comes from a place of privilege, right? Because I have a number of bikes. That is a great way to keep it fresh and to keep the sport interesting.
But I feel like it also makes you a better rider in general. Just
probably. For sure. Yeah. But it depends.
Adjusting, and it's also not about just having a ton of different bikes. I mean, you can simply just change the way you ride, and by simply changing your pedals from clipless to flats, or I don't know, go crazy and do those little strap pedals like that. The fixed gears riders. Why am I doing this right now? But yeah,
like slides.
Slides. You slide onto the pedal.
Yeah, slider pedals.
Sledals. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, very interesting. I don't know. I feel like I just like that you guys are trying out different stuff and pushing yourself, and it's cool. We're jumping back and forth in the subject, and we're already like talking for like an hour now. But I have a few more things coming, like about podcasting, because I still want to keep it in that area almost.
Sure.
Just I feel like I can learn from you guys as well a little, because I don't know, you have 70. I mean, like in boxing, you say under your belt. I'll just keep that 70 episodes under your belt. Does that work? Under your helmets or in front of the microphone, something like that. Yeah. I don't know. What would you say is the key to keep the audience listening for an hour or an hour and a half? What would you guys say is like the Bryson?
It's something we've actually done quite well on recently, and I mean have worked into. Right.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's
we could say something.
We have looked into it. So I mean, I guess if there's only one measure we actually look at, right? Because I don't do the podcast for the numbers, and I believe Bryson doesn't either. But there's, I guess, one metric we look at, and that's kind of engagement. Spotify gives you kind of a good metric in terms of how much are people actually listening to.
Oh, cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's one thing having, like, let's say 100,000 downloads and people are only listening to 5 seconds. But it's not, for me personally, it's much more important that we only have 100, 200, 300, whatever it is, downloads, and people listen to the majority of it, right? So,
yeah, definitely.
So that is, that is kind of what we're looking for, and generally it's it's the guests you wouldn't quite expect, right? So it's kind of like the. Do
you think it's about the questions or the guests itself, or maybe just having that like relationship with your community, that they, to keep them interested and being like, I want to know what Pascal and Bryson have to say or talk about with this guest, you know? Like, what is the magic sauce to the soup of...
Yeah, we're looking for inputs, guys. So let us know. Shoot us an email. No, joking aside, I guess the secret sauce is really that happy place between the guest, the topic, and the conversation, and kind of how that flows. I mean, a recent example is Chris Fisher, the Flying Grizzly. You know, people are interested in what he has to do because he's, what he's doing, because he's very visible. He's working in a place that most people know.
Yeah.
He's producing cool stuff, so they're really, really interested. And he has interesting things to say about where things are going, right? So, I mean, he's the head shaper in Lenzerheide for people that don't know. So it was interesting to hear what he has to say about, what happens in the park. Why are we doing it this way and not the other way? Why does this jump like this and not like the other one? And so that is stuff that people are interested in.
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah. I think like it's also part or a big part comes from being the host of a podcast and keeping it interesting. Just having the right questions, getting like making sure that the podcast, while doing the podcast, the conversation just doesn't like run out and you're just having like awkward silence for minutes or something like that. Or I feel like it's a big part of being a host, to make the podcast worth watching or listening an hour, 1.5, I don't know. So definitely also like it's cool what you guys do, and I feel like a lot of people are very very just like to listen to you guys and engage with what you do.
As Pascal just mentioned here, we have this loose script, and it used to be a little bit more regiment, but we've kind of evolved and ironed out kind of our processes and how we like to do things. And also one of the benefits of our teamwork is that we look at things differently, but also we look at things intensely in our own ways, and we can give each other input on what those are. So it's not maybe in contrast to like a podcast that only has one host where he has kind of a certain perspective. Maybe he has a team or she has a team who allows them to kind of enlighten them on other kind of facets of what's going on about the guest or something like that. And that's what basically we're just leveraging. I think it can be seen when you listen to quality podcasts. If you listen to enough of them, myself and Pascal certainly do. And we listen to different ones, some of the same ones, but definitely different ones. And we take the different qualities that we like from those, and we try to reflect those in what we do.
Yeah.
For a huge thing is the audio recording quality. And Pascal does an amazing job in making sure that that is like top level.
Very good. Cool.
Every time I listen to one of our podcasts, it's like, okay, it's good audio. Of course, we have some technical difficulties. There's been some podcasts where it was less than prime.
Less than prime.
Yeah.
Less than absolutely perfect.
Yeah. But that's actually one of the things my pet peeves about podcasts. Like sometimes I'm really interested in the guest, or I really like the host, but there's some audio issue that I can't get over, and I can't listen to more than a few minutes, and I'm just like, I have to put it down.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So that's really one make or break quality as well, you guys.
It's one make or break section. Doesn't mean you have to have great quality. You know, some speakers, like you can hear them breathing while the guest is speaking. There are some things you can look past, but it's one of those kind of make or break for some people.
For sure.
But there is that magic sauce, like he said. You listen to good podcasts and you can take those things away.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. You can find that balance.
No, very cool.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something I have to find my way to, with like, what does my podcast need for people to really like be hyped about every single episode that comes out. And I feel like that's what I said with being the host and the being like the job of the host, if you want to say it like that. Just what do I have to do so my audience is not only interested in every guest I have, but also interested in what I have to ask, or what my opinions are and all of that. And I think that's something I want to keep working on in the next episodes, but also something I feel like I can learn from you guys, because you have that experience and quite more than I have.
Well, let me ask you one question.
Yeah.
So if you were to think of like, he or she is a great podcaster, who would it be, and what is like the major shining quality or qualities that immediately like makes you gravitate towards them?
I don't know. Just, I feel like a podcaster in general just has to be very open-minded, and has to like, I don't know, it doesn't mean that you have to have the same opinion that your guests have or something like that. You don't have to agree on everything like your guest says, but just be open to what they say and just take it with no kind of feelings involved, and and then reflect on that and try to make this conversation out of a topic that is important, that you think is important for either the guest, you, or the audience. And I feel like being open-minded is one of the big things that a good podcaster has to have. And also having that, I feel like, I mean, it's the skill of communication and the skill of being a talkative person, an outgoing person, is probably benefits you as a podcaster as well. But you, as I said in the beginning, you can also learn that, just if you really get yourself into it and overcome your anxiety and stand in front of the camera and find ways how to be less nervous in front of the camera and all of that. You can become that. But if you have that already, that's very good. And with experience, it also becomes that, I feel like, or it becomes easier to be outgoing, to be talkative, and it's kind of like a skill you develop, I feel like. I feel like just a mixture of that, and then also making good choices when you pick guests, you know, like, I mean, everyone can tell a good story or has good stories to tell, but not everyone can tell them really good. And then as you as the podcast, you can maybe sit in front of the camera 70 times and improve your talking skills, but someone who just does one podcast a year, or not even, or just one does one in his lifetime, won't have that, you know. And then you got to be a little careful with picking it, maybe, but also with being like guiding him through the podcast. So it's a lot that comes together. And I feel like being the podcast host, and that's something I realized when I did my very first episode, sitting on this couch with my dad, I was not really thinking about it. I just pressed the record button on my camera and the like audio recording thing, and then I was like, whoa, this actually needs some skill to like get this going, because I was just like, oh, I can have cool conversations with everyone, easy. Pressing record, and I'm like, wait, I have to keep it interesting in a way, but I also have to think about the next question, because I don't know, but I also have to listen, you know, and being like all of that. It's just.
But who's your favorite?
Who's my favorite?
Paul?
Nah. I mean, I mentioned the Pauls when I was on your podcast, and Maddie, my wife's sitting there right now, and she's like, she doesn't like him. I mean, they're doing some very controversial stuff, but talking about entertainment, they're still in my head very, very entertaining, and I listen a lot to their podcasts. That's true. I don't know. I feel like every podcast that is famous and has this or not famous, that is well known and people know and people like to listen to, every podcaster has this skill set that I just said in a way, and that what makes it interesting.
And I just wanted to come back to what you said before, right? So this not having the plan in the back of your mind and just going with the flow and feeling the moment and all these kind of things, right? But for a lot of people that can be, you know, you said this yourself, right? It's like you were super nervous when we said, oh, now it's time to go, or you know, it's being recorded, or you're talking to someone you don't know, right? So that's why kind of I started the process of, you know, I'm going to send a briefing email of like, okay, look, these are the things, like checklist for your headphones, this and that. These are the things we want to talk about. So that gives them already kind of a frame of reference. Yeah. In terms of like, okay, what can I expect? Where do they want to go? Because, you know, of course, right, we are the Skids and Giggles. So then first and foremost, you have to explain to people what that even means. It's like,
giggles,
okay,
right?
Speaking about the niche. But then the other thing is like, okay, well, at first people were not quite sure if we are being funny and it's going to be comedians and we're going to, you know, pull pranks on them and whatnot, right? So now, of course, we have established a little bit that we're, you know, taking this pretty seriously. But, you know, until people get to that point where they say, okay, well, they're, you know, don't going to pull one over on me. They're not going to be funny. They don't want to make me look stupid, you know, to that point, you need to help them. And that is your job, right? So that is and whatever it is, right? So I started this process with the briefing email. And then before we start recording, then I run through the things of like, okay, well, as we did with you, remember, this is not live. If you say something silly and you're not sure, just give us a sign. We can cut it later. Don't worry about it. Yeah. And then whatever we record, I put it together, I send it to you. You decide if it goes out or not. Yeah. Right? So then it's like, okay, you give them the reassurance of like, okay, I can say something stupid if I feel like it, but I can still backtrack if I want. Yeah, yeah. Right? Because at the end of the day, you don't want to create a space where people are constantly fearing they're being thrown under the bus. Yeah. So it's kind of that's true. So that's maybe that's something you can take. I will take on. Like, I mean, it doesn't take a lot, right? It's just for us, it's a small checklist with.
And once you've written it, you just
send it out. 3 bullet points of what you want to talk about, and that's it.
Yeah, definitely. What you just said with also making the guest feel comfortable and making sure that, I mean, if you have a guest that feels comfortable and someone who like just really can relax and just talks with you like he's talking or she's talking to a friend, that these are the best podcasts. I feel like, you know, it's really about just a chill environment where you can just let loose of your thoughts and very cool. And also preparation, what you just said, like, is probably a big part of it, and something I probably didn't put enough work into, if I'm being honest, but something I'll definitely
it's a process,
work on,
right?
You know. Yeah, the more, I mean, I had podcasts when I went into the podcast with Danny. I was really prepared with what I want to say and what I want to ask, and just podcasts like these felt way easier, even though I was still super nervous because he was such a big name. Yeah. But yeah. Who was it? Danny.
I think he's famous.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. But
then again, you know, you need to say you know, why are you being nervous, right? He's famous in mountain biking.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's only mountain biking.
it's just you're playing
What are we
bikes.
guys even doing now?
Yeah, exactly, right? So, I mean, you also, that's the other thing, right? You can't take yourself too seriously with this, right? Because at the end of the day, you're talking about bikes. So it's kind of like, and about a hobby. So it's, you know.
No, that's
so
true.
that's,
oh, very cool. Yeah, I definitely will take that on with me. I want to talk about two things before we wrap it up. First thing, we said it in the take one, and we were talking about it in the beginning. Video podcasts, what we do right now. You guys are not doing it yet. I want to start it a little bit differently than I did before. With asking you, Bryson, do you think video podcasts have a future, or do you think it's gonna stick with audio only?
Yeah, that's actually a question I asked myself, and I've asked myself kind of iterations of that question over the past a couple weeks or every other day, let's say, maybe, just kind of like in the back of my mind, tiny question, one of many. I do a lot of as well as listening to podcasts, I do a lot of video consumption. So I do watch YouTube quite often.
Yeah, you said it in my podcast. You love the YouTube.
I'm the kind of person who is noticing things, and maybe they are trends, or maybe they are kind of things just the algorithm is feeding me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But just in kind of in terms of the way technology is going, communication is going, media is going. I think we're at kind of still at like a kind of a birth place of media, and there's a lot more room for different content creators. There's a lot more room for forms of media, the way written or audio or video can expand. There's a lot more room for it. So I would say yes, there is more space, or will be more space, for video podcasts. I just don't know what it looks like.
Okay. For me, it's about just doing a show and entertaining people. Yeah. Like, I think if you can, but it also takes more than just setting up mics and being good in talking with people. It needs this visual aspect of like, how do I make a person not only listen to me for 1.5 hours, but also watch me talking for 1.5 hours. And I think that's quite a challenge, and something I still want to keep doing. I'm gonna switch to Spotify, guys. At some point when people keep saying it, like, when do you post on Spotify? But I just need to do it.
You don't need to switch. Actually, you can just
not switch, but I mean post on both. Both channels. I'll do that. Be patient with me, please. Okay, very interesting. Are you ever gonna do video podcasts?
No.
Look at those
how do you?
those faces.
No, it's. I watched you guys for now. Wait, an hour and 27 minutes, and I'm in love with it. You know, so.
It's you know what? It's its own art, and I think we are within our own art.
You could put a mask on, Bryson.
I don't want to wear a mask. I don't mind people seeing me. I mean, okay, so I believe I'm pretty like adept with facial expression, so I don't mind people looking at my face and reading my face. Although
makes it interesting.
A lot of the time, I will like intentionally not give facial expressions.
Mm-hmm.
I know it confuses a lot of people, but maybe I like that actually. I'm not sure. There's a little bit of psychology I need to jump into there, but
for you, it's also a no.
It's just I mean, please.
I don't know. I mean, no. I mean, so far we've exactly. He's pushing us to YouTube. No, all joking aside, yes, I do see, the developments. I think in take one, I mentioned that Spotify is investing heavily in video too. You can obviously see the big names that are very active in the video space, the Rogans, the Friedmans, even the ones from our niche, right? The mountain biking. So Downtime, for example, he started with video too.
I feel like Kamera also does like a little bit of a podcast, but he kind of like self-interviews him. No, not self-interviews, but like self. No, but he's, I don't know. He's just sitting in front of the camera talking for 30, 40 minutes.
Okay.
And he's an anchor man.
Yeah.
All right, I see.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of from in practical terms, right? So for us, being fully remote for the last 3 years has meant we take much less overhead in terms of getting to guests, right? So because we also had a couple of international guests, we don't need to drive anywhere. We can just log on from home. It makes it super easy.
Yeah.
But maybe a touch less personal, right? Because now we have a very different conversation than when we had our conversation on Riverside, our studio. So certainly that is one element. The other element is just, I think for people to watch it, it needs to be much more engaging than just three dudes sitting on a couch. Right? Because I have a hard time focusing on three dudes sitting on a couch talking about mountain biking.
Yeah.
If it's kind of like...
But what I do, for example, is I watch a lot of video podcasts, and for me, it's just, I'll let the video play in the background, and like I eat or clean the house or fold my laundry or something like that next to it. And then there's this one topic where I want to see facial expressions because they're like, I don't know, there's some kind of emotion involved or I don't know what. And then it's just this tiny like 5 seconds I want to watch. And I'm like looking at the phone, saying, oh, are they smiling? Are they laughing? Are they crying or whatever? And then I'm back like putting the phone away. But those 5 to 10 seconds, and I have that maybe in one episode I watched, it's like 2-3 times I want to watch that. And then that's enough for me to be like, okay, I want to.
I don't know. I don't exclude it, but so far the bar is pretty high to start going to video. But why not? I mean, I guess we would. I think rather than doing a video podcast, I'd rather do
vlogs,
Skids and Giggles TV or whatever, right? For lack of a better name, to do actual video content. So we go somewhere. And, we get like people together, we go for a ride and then we document it. Yeah. Rather than sitting down on a couch and filming that, right? Because I think the added value of the video here is minimal. Yeah. Whereas if we go out and document something cool and kind of create a story around that, of course. I mean, that would be more valuable. Yeah. But, I'm not emotional about it, so I'm happy to be convinced otherwise. No, it's good. I mean, maybe we'll have a change in the next few years. Maybe. No, but I mean, as I said in take one, right? So the centerpiece of podcast is conversation, and the video element just adds a slight flavor to the conversation. Yeah, it's like a little bit of salt. But if the conversation is not great, the video is not going to save it. Yeah. Whereas, if the conversation is great, then audio can stand on its own because it's a great conversation. Yeah. So, but yeah. No, we'll okay, see. Cool. I'm interested. Maybe we're going to have Skids and Giggles TV very soon. No. Yeah, don't wait for it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I think that's it. I feel like I don't know. I could talk with you guys about podcasting for so long. It's really something I got interested a lot in the past year since I started with my own channel, and just to hear from other people who do the same, how they do it, how they did it so far, and to listen to you guys talk about what you've done and why you do it, and it's really interesting. So thank you guys for coming on. It was a pleasure. Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you. Hopefully we can do a part 2 somewhere somehow. We'll see. And is there anything you guys want to say at the end to the Thoughts Under the Helmet audience? Or maybe we can bring it back to, like the little thing you said about being nice to each other and just how did you say the dog thing? Can you remember? If we were all greeting each other like how dogs greet humans. Us. Yeah. Right. Wagging That's tail. That's a good thing, wagging tail. Running being up happy. To them excited. Yeah. I like that. Okay. Be kinder than you need to be. Yeah.
All right. I think that we should end it on that. Thank you guys so much. I really love what you're doing. I'm gonna, follow your story and your journey. And thank you guys out there for listening, watching, even though we had some technical difficulties, if we want to say like that. Bryson, you did great. I love that you didn't get unconscious.
Thank you, Louis. It was a pleasure.
And see you guys on the next episode of Thoughts on the Helmet. Comment, like, share, subscribe, and then I'm gonna see you somehow, somewhere, on here. All right, bye.
Skiggles.
Giggles.